Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 20 career mode, here for our second season in MotoGP on the Suzuki, and we're here at the penultimate race of the season at Malaysia. I just want to apologise, it's been quite a while since the last career mode episode, but let's have a look at the championship standings, see how things are shaping up for these last few rounds of the season. So you got Marc Marquez, he's got our second place secured. Of course we won the championship quite a few rounds ago at this point. But the fight to watch out for is this fight over third place between Jack Miller, Fabio Quartararo, Maverick Vinales, and someone who's brought themselves into it very recently, Valentino Rossi. Not many points actually separating them, although Miller is starting to pull away a little bit at the front. Obviously there's only 6 points between Quartararo and Rossi, only 1 between Vinales and Rossi as well, whereas Miller's got another 11 points ahead. So Miller is looking like he's starting to cement that third position. He can wrap that up, of course, this weekend and get that third position wrapped up. So it's more of a fight between the three Yamaha riders, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out over the last couple of races. And the thing to watch in the Teams Championship is the battle between Monster Energy Yamaha and the Ducati team. Only 8 points between those two. Honda are a little bit further ahead. I think they're probably going to wrap up second in the Teams Championship this weekend. They've not quite got it yet, so they need a 45-point lead, which they're just short of, but I think it's around 3 points or something like that. It's very, very close. So it's looking pretty likely that Repsol Honda will wrap up second in the Teams Championship. And if we look at the Constructors Championship, it's a pretty similar story. Yamaha and Ducati are fairly close. Actually, there's a bit of a gap there. So Constructors Championship, there's not too much to watch on this front. There's not a lot going on there. The gaps are big enough where I don't think there's really going to be any change to the end of the season now. Ducati can maybe jump Yamaha, but I can't really see it happening, to be honest. There's quite a big gap there now. So I think Constructors are going to sort of stay as they are. So it's really just a Teams Championship. Watch out for this battle between Yamaha and Ducati, and in the Riders' Championship, watch out with the three Yamahas. So without any further ado then, let's head into the Malaysian Grand Prix. I'll see you down there in qualifying. So here we are then at the Malaysian Grand Prix, ready for qualifying one. So let's get straight into it and see who we're going to be up against. Jack Miller, apparently, and also Rossi. So we've got Miller, Petrucci, Rossi. Is anybody else weird? Oliveira, Crutchlow, Nakagami, Lecuona, Binder, Alex Marquez, Aleix Espargaro, Tito Rabat, Jorge Martin. So it's pretty standard, except Miller and Rossi. Wow, so two of the riders fighting for that third place, although I suppose Miller he had got it pretty comfortable. If Quartararo and Vinales do a good job, they could definitely be right back on him. So two of the riders in that fight for third place, in qualifying one with myself here. So then, I think soft tyres will probably be okay for one lap at this circuit. For some reason it looks like I've got a random number on the bike. So I don't know what that's all about. I'm not sure what's going on here, particularly with that. So I might need to go and change that. That's a little bit strange. Why has Milestone given me a random number for? Right, so I'll fix that now. Sorry about that, guys. It's a bit of a weird way to start the episode, but I'd lost connection to the internet for some reason, so it couldn't download my number and it gave me a random one. So let's head out onto the track then. Hopefully we can get straight through into qualifying 2, since Sepang is usually a pretty weak track for the AI. Oh! I completely forgot about that glitch where they go wide on the curb and the autopilot just started to do it and I thought I was going to go absolutely flying. If we go down towards the last corner. Not played the game for a few days. Well, not played it properly. I've been testing mods and things like that, but I've not actually done a proper race or anything. Bit of a wheelie out the last corner. That's definitely going to affect the momentum all the way up towards the line. So actually this could be quite a poor lap because of that. So we will have to watch that. As we go down towards the first corner. Alex Marquez is coming out the pits right in front of us, but luckily he's going to leave the door open very... Well, I don't think it's intentional, but it was a nice way for us to get past Alex there. Obviously he ran a little bit hot into the... Well, he didn't run in hot, but the line he was on allowed him to get off the apex, so we could take the corner like I wanted to. So if we go through turn 3, then I've had to let off the throttle quite a bit there. We're nearly 3/10 underneath in the first sector. I've gone on the grass a little bit there. We've got to watch out for that. We make sure we don't go onto the grass and crash or anything like that as we go through turn 4 then. Valentino Rossi has had a crash, so his weekend's go from bad to worse in this session as it is. It was bad enough for him, but now he's actually gone down as well. Alex Marquez actually caught me up through this section, making loads of mistakes though, so I can see why he would have caught me up. This lap has been subpar. Usually takes a few laps to get used to this bike because it doesn't actually feel too great, to be honest. So 8 thousandths now down on the fastest lap, so we should be able to find that back through the rest of the lap, I would have hoped, but you can never be too sure. Of course, we're running traction control 4 as well, just because of the temperature on this circuit. If I want to use a soft tyre, which I can't do need to in qualifying, I can't really use anything less than traction control 4, or it will spin up. Of course, in the race, I'll probably use 2 or 3. there with the harder tyre on. But we've gone a little bit wide through turn 11. Miller's now down as well, so the two sort of front runners that are in this session, obviously beside myself, have now gone down on this lap alone. So yeah, they are struggling quite a bit this weekend, Miller and Valentino. Lacorda's now down as well. We've now found another 2 tenths almost through that section, so if we can actually do a good lap next time without all these mistakes, we should definitely be able to go through without any trouble. As we go down towards the final turn, I feel like we are going to have to do another lap after this, I don't think this lap will have been actually good enough to get us straight through. As we try and get the cut back through 15, not quite been able to do it, but as we come up towards the line then, we gained quite a lot of time actually on Alex Marquez through there, so coming towards the line, 1 minute 58.8. I don't think that's going to be enough. It's not a very good lap time, that, so we'll have to keep going and see if we can improve a little bit. Although there'd only be a few tenths on the table, I suppose. The bike is not obviously upgraded at all, so if I'm comparing it to online times, that would be a little bit misleading. As we come up towards the line, the lap time was still pole position in this session, but let's see what this one is. 4 tenths quicker. That should be good enough to get us through, so let's head to the end of the session, and hopefully we'll be into qualifying too. So interestingly enough, the first time actually would have got us through fairly convincingly, because we're a second faster than Jack Miller with his second time. Valentino Rossi obviously unfortunately hasn't been able to get through because I've gone through, so myself and Jack Miller gone through to the next session. Let's see if there's any other sort of anomalies further down. Yeah, there is here with Nakagami and Binder being 7 and 8 well, nearly 9 seconds off of Binder there. So a little bit weird. But we'll head into qualifying 2 now, and let's see what we can do. Hopefully we should be able to get pole position. Oh no, please don't kill me, AI. Please, 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 please. Oh, wow. Okay. That time we really almost crashed. No messing out of any intro to the session. We're straight out on circuit, as you can see here. And I'll probably just cut straight to the end of my lap as well. Wow, that's a bit wide. So coming out the final turn then. Oh, a bit of a wheelie. But as we're coming up towards the line, hopefully this lap will be good enough to get us pole position. It was actually even quicker than what we did in qualifying 1. I believe that was there. So that is very, very nice. Even with Zarco actually got in my way a little bit in the first sector. So let's end this session then now. That should be pole position. Let's see where everybody else is going to end up. So then, we're on pole position by 1.6 seconds. I probably should have started at the back of the grid for this race then, I'm guessing, because that is quite a big gap to have over the AI. Of course, it is a long circuit, but I wasn't expecting to be that dominant here, not going to lie, because the bike is not perfect for this circuit. I think because this is a circuit I like so much, I can just find that extra little bit of performance. So 1.6 seconds ahead of Dovizioso, nicely enough, in second position. So that does change it up a little bit. Marc Marquez third. Polispagra in 4th, and Miller ended up 7th, so he's still beaten Vinales, and he's right behind Quartararo, so he's going to still be able to hold on to that second position fairly easily, and I think with both the Repsol Hondas up there, they should be able to secure the teams and the constructors' second positions. But without any further ado then, let's head into the Moto3 Junior race and see how Manuel Hernandez and Daisy Jackson are going to get on. So then, Daisy Jackson has qualified 11th, Manuel Hernandez in 13th, so no pole positions this time and no reason to get excessively excited. Hopefully they can do a little bit better in this race, because of course this is a track that I really do love, so I really want my team to do well here as well. But 11th and 13th, so Hernandez is just outside of that cutoff then for the top 4 rows. So unfortunately, I'm not going to get the extra prestige for achieving both the qualifying goals there. Let's get this race started. Hopefully they'll both get in the top 15. I'm hoping they can get in the top 10. I'm not sure if a top 5 will be possible, but just let's see what happens. So then we're watching Daisy Jackson. Obviously she is the lead rider, 11th place on the grid. She needs to try and beat both the Snipers riders if possible, but lights out and away we go. I was a little bit slow to say that, wasn't I, because I was too busy saying something else as they run down towards turn 1. Then Hernandez up to 9th place, Jackson now down to 10th. So Hernandez, for once, has actually had a better start than Daisy Jackson. An absolutely rapid start. So from pole position, he has a terrible start, but from 13th of the grid, he has a good start. Oh, Jackson, though, a bit of contact with him there. I don't think that was Jackson's fault, though. I believe Hernandez just lost the rear and sort of went into Jackson a little bit. So we're not going to say that it was anybody's fault. It's just a bit of a race incident. But the two lay up our bikes out front. Hopefully we can be like that in the next season, dominating in this category with our DHL Hondas or whatever we decide to use at that point. But Daisy Jackson in 9th place then, Manuel Hernandez in 10th, so my two riders running line astern once again. Suzuki goes wide, so they both move past Tatsuki Suzuki. They're both in front of John McPhee as well, which is even better. You can see Tony Arbolino just a couple of positions up the road. Hernandez going on the inside of Jackson. Jackson running around the outside through the long left-hander, and they flick it over into the right-hander. Hernandez again trying to go around the outside of Jackson. He might be able to do it this time. That is a really good line, but he's not quite been able to do it side by side, sort of. But no, Jackson has got in front of him towards that right hand. Obviously the first and the double rise, but Jackson seems to have made a little bit of a mistake. Hernandez has made his way through, so a very, very rare mistake there from Daisy Jackson. That has allowed her teammate Manuel to sneak through on the inside. Kaito Toba now looking for a move behind her, which we haven't seen him at the front for quite some time. Well, not at the front, I suppose, but near our riders for quite a while. And Arbolino now looks like he's under attack from Romano Fenati, although actually he's just gone underneath Antonelli as I've said that, so maybe I need to watch the whole scene before I say anything. Oh, it's a massive crash in the background. I think that's Albert Arenas. Albert Arenas has gone absolutely flying in the background. I'd love to see what happened there. Not sure what happened, but Hernandez going on the inside of Fenati. He's past Fenati. Jackson's now on the inside of Fenati as well. I think Jackson might be able to fight her way through. Not quite. So Fenati's still in front of Jackson for now. Actually, no, they've both got past him now. Jackson side by side with Fenati. Let's have a look. I think she has just edged ahead of him. Yes, she has. So down towards the final corner. There's been a great first lap. Hernandez is going past Arbolino as well. And will he be able to attack Niccolo Antonelli into the last corner? He's gone round the outside of Arbolino. So now up to 6th place, Manuel Hernandez. Absolute charge from 30th to 6th on this first lap. Come on, Manuel. Let's see what you can do. See, Jackson is still right in there as well, right behind Tony Arbolino. She's going for the slipstream pass. I think she's going to pass him. I think she has got the move done. Yes, she's now up to 7th position. Can Hernandez do anything about Antonelli on the run down to this first corner? So I feel a little bit bad for Fenati because he was looking for a move on Arbolino. He ended up getting in front of Antonelli then, and then he's lost all the positions because of that sort of chain effect. So Fenati's lost loads of positions. Suzuki is looking for his way through as well because, of course, Tatsuki ran wide at the start of this lap. But Hernandez, again, carrying the speed through the fast corners. He's all over the back of Niccolo Antonelli. It's got to be not long now before he makes a move. It's amazing to see this race pace from Manuel Hernandez. He's had some immense qualifying pace all season, but he's not been able to string it together in races. But this time, he's ahead of Jackson. He's fighting with someone fighting for the championship, because Antonelli and Masia are the two going for the World Championship. So with Hernandez actually running with Antonelli, that's absolutely amazing. Oh! Massive crash! Antonelli's lost it! He's down, and so is Fenati behind him. I think it might be Romano Fenati, but that's a massive high side for Niccolo Antonelli. That completely caught me off guard. Nothing had happened, really. Hernandez was just following a little bit behind Antonelli, and Jackson a little bit behind Hernandez. He was sort of reeling him in a little bit again, and then a massive high side for Niccolo Antonelli, and then an unrelated crash in the background for, yes, I think it was Romano Fenati. They seem to have both had the exact same crash, so there must be some sort of glitch with the AI coming out of that corner where they can high side. Yeah, because it's Lopez still there in the background. Lopez, I think I was saying in the last episode, hadn't scored points for quite a while, but there he is, proving me wrong, being in the points. But it's absolutely unbelievable. Such a strange crash there for Niccolo Antonelli, and it came out of absolutely nowhere. So now, the two DHL Biker Racing Hondas are up in 5th and 6th position. That's absolutely amazing. Please do not start scrapping and lose the position to Suzuki, because Tatsuki Suzuki will be on a bit of a charge. But I think this is the first race where my riders have actually had the race pace of the leaders. So you can see the leaders are not too far up the road. Like, they're both the Leopards, both the Sky VR46 bikes. It's actually in the top 6, just 2x2x2, and they are right on the pace of the leaders. They're being gapped a little bit, but they're pretty close to them in the grand scheme of things, especially considering this is a long circuit. You'd expect them to be quite far back actually at this circuit, but no, it actually seems that they're quite close to the front. And I think this is probably their best result since Silverstone. I think there might have been a top 5 then, or maybe it was the 6th place, but this is going to be the best result of the season for sure. 5th and 6th position if they can hold on to it. Absolutely amazing. And they're on the final lap of the race, so it definitely plays into their favour. I think they should be able to hold on to this, which would be absolutely amazing for the team. If only Manuel Hernandez had had this pace in the previous race, we could have had a race winner's trophy, or maybe just a podium after that one. Of course, he's had pole twice this season, and he's not quite been able to convert it into a decent race result yet, but 5th position would definitely be his best position of the season. And he's started behind his teammate. He's had to fight his way past her, of course. Oh, there's another crash in the background. Suzuki's now down as well. So there's both of the 658 bikes crash at the same corner 2 laps in a row. That completely took me by surprise when I was talking about this. But Manuel Hernandez, absolutely fantastic race. I'm really, really pleased with him. He's come from behind his teammates, come from not a great starting position, and he's up to 5th place. It's absolutely phenomenal. But this has been such a strange race. Obviously, not a lot been happening. And I think that must have been what happened to Albert Arenas, maybe coming out of this corner on the first lap. There's been some quite big high sides in this race. But luckily, my riders so far have made it. I'm not going to speak too soon because this is the glitchy corner, of course, where they do run it wide over the curb and have massive high sides occasionally. Although I'm not so sure they do it in Moto3. I think it's more of a MotoGP thing. Yet both of them have got through that corner just fine. So it's just one more corner to go now, and it will be, I think, the best finish of the season as a team. 5th and 6th positions, and right behind the leaders as well, which is just so good. Hopefully they can carry this momentum into Valencia. I did say that I wanted them to have a really good race here, and it seems like they've done so. I think there actually was an upgrade, wasn't there, at the end of the previous episode, so that could have something to do with it. But as we come up towards the line, then Manuel Hernandez is going to come home in 5th place, and Daisy Jackson in 6th place. A phenomenal result for the team. So yeah, Manuel Hernandez actually had better race pace, or a better fastest lap than Yama Masita, the winner of the race. So both of my riders really were on the race pace there. Fantastic result for both of them. But as I was touching on at the end there actually was an upgrade for one of the departments. One of the team departments, so I don't know whether that will have had an impact on this result, but it's an absolutely amazing result here. 5th and 6th position, only 2.7 and 3.3 seconds off the victory respectively, at a really long circuit, a 2-minute 14 lap as well. So in the Riders' Championship then, has that had any effect? John McPhee is now only 6 points ahead of Daisy Jackson. We could be on for this top 10 in the championship. Alonso Lopez obviously only 20 points in front of her as well, so she'd need a 2nd place or a 1st place, and really need Alonso not to score, or of course if she does win, him just to score really poorly. Although Alonso Lopez was sort of back on it in this race, he didn't do too bad there. Manuel Hernandez by far clear of Gabby Rodrigo, but I think he's too far behind Daisy Jackson as well. So Manuel Hernandez has got 12th place in the championship for this season. Daisy Jackson still has a chance at 10th and even mathematically 9th position, but I think more likely 10th. In the team's championship then, I think we are pretty clear of the Snipers team now. They aren't going to get a 1-2 or anything like that. So I think we've got this 5th place secure. So if Jackson could just beat McPhee by a few points, we really could. We could have a 10th place in the championship. So a top 10 for the riders, 5th in the teams would be absolutely fantastic. But interestingly, at the top of the table, with both 658 bikes crashing out of the race and Leopard getting a 1-2, it's been a massive swing, and Leopard are now 1 point in the lead in the team's championship. That's going to be a close finale. So they've got the Riders' Championship. I actually didn't look at the gaps, so there could be a champion crowned here. I didn't look at the gaps at the top of the table. I can't believe I didn't do that. But the team's championship is all to play for. I think the Riders probably as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on in the next race. I think this will be a really good season finale in the next episode. But that's it for Moto3 today. Now onto the MotoGP race. I don't think it's going to be particularly interesting, to be honest with you guys, because I am on pole position. I was 1.6 seconds quicker, so I think it might be a bit of a clear off time. So here we are then, down on the grid, looking at Marc Marquez in 2nd position. We're going to have a 7-lap race here then. Of course, there was only a 4-lap race in the Moto3 one because of how long the circuit is, so there's not going to be too many laps here. Tito Rabat we're looking at now, down in 21st position. We were down near that position in the last race, and obviously we had that epic fight back to 2nd. This time we're on the complete opposite end of the grid on pole position. I think this should be a pretty easy victory. We should have it in the bag. But I'm not going to speak too soon. There could be some sort of mistake. And of course we're on the hard tyre, and the AI probably aren't on the hard tyre, so they might actually be able to have a little bit of better pace at the beginning of the race, but we should have the overall speed to actually still be able to fight for the victory, regardless of tyre choice. So let's get this race started. Hopefully we can try and get another victory here. Should be able to, but you never know.
The Sepang track is ready to welcome this latest edition of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Just a few moments to go until the riders battle away on track.
So of course we've actually got Dovizioso alongside us, who we haven't had for a long time. Marc Marquez, of course, last year we didn't get to see how fast he was because he crashed at the 2nd corner, but waiting for the lights to go out here. Lights out, and away we go. Looking behind us, Dovi's had a fantastic launch off the line. Andrea Dovizioso goes into the lead. I'm down to 3rd place now. Looks like Marc Marquez has gone past. Looks like Paulo Spagro is trying to get his way through as well. So we go down towards the 1st corner, braking nice and late, going round the outside. We've got a Paulo Spagro on the inside. Jorge Martin has crashed. Luckily, I've not been collected in that incident. I don't know if anybody else has. I think there is 2 riders off on the map by the looks of it. Oh, Rins taps Quartararo. Rins is down. Rins taps into the side of Fabio Quartararo. It goes down. Paulo Spagro moves up ahead of his teammate into 2nd position because I had to leave the door open for Paul on the inside the 1st corner because he was making his way through. So we've dropped down to 4th position at the start of this race. So not an ideal start. Dovizioso leading for the first time in quite a long time. We're cutting up the inside then of Marc Marquez. I'm on the wrong clutch control setting really. I need to be on 3. We're trying to sweep round the outside of Marc now then. Can we get in front of him? He's still got the inside. I'm in 3rd gear. I'm going to have the inside for the next section. Marc's still trying to hang it around the outside, but we should have this one here. We're on the power. There we go, up to 3rd position. So up next then is Paulo Spagro, the other Repsol Honda. Then it's Andrea Dovizioso, who, like I said, has not been at the front for a long time. He's been struggling so much this season. he's just really not been there, which has been very unfortunate for the Ducati team. He's kind of let that team down a little bit because Miller has been very consistently fast since the start of the season, and Pol Espargaro, well, he's let the Honda team down, despite the fact he started off the season so well in Qatar. But we're looking at the inside of him. We're going to make the move. Jack Miller's now gone down, so Miller's down, and Quartararo obviously in 5th position. That is massive for the fight for 3rd in the championship. That could turn it back in Fabio Quartararo's favour, because he's all over the back of Marc Marquez, so he could pass Marquez here. But we're at the inside of Pol Espargaro. Well, they've gone a little bit too hot. Pol is back underneath us. I think he's going to have it now. We're on the curb of death, as I like to call it. So we've actually lost the position to Pol Espargaro. It's quite rare that we make a bit of a botched overtake. The two Yamahas of Vinales and Rossi, who are obviously very close in the championship, having a fight further down in the field. Alex Marquez going past Rossi now as well. But coming out this last corner then, can we try and blast past Pol Espargaro? We're going to. We got the better line. We got on the power earlier. We've now gone past Pol up into 2nd position. So it is just Dovizioso ahead of us now. So it should just be a fairly calm, relaxed race. Pecco Bagnaia is in 6th position, I've just noticed, which is a really good result. I don't think I've seen him at the front at all season. So this race has thrown up some weird results. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the performance, but you got Dovizioso back at the front. The Moto3 race, obviously my rider's doing really well. Alonso Lopez being back near the front. Now we've got Bagnaia up near the front. Obviously, Fabio Quartararo is doing pretty well as well. Obviously, we had that contact. Well, the Rins crash hasn't anything to do with performance. But here we go then. We're looking for a move on Andrea Dovizioso. And we've hit him at the back. We've got a bit of damage, actually. We've lost a wing because we've hit Dovizioso at the back. So a big mistake there. And we've lost all the ground we made up on him. So we're going to have to try and catch him back up again. We actually know quite a big pack now. It's a bit of a train starting to form in this group. It's not very often I'm in the train. Usually I've pulled away from it or I'm behind it and can't keep up with it. Bagnaia's now crashed, so we were singing Pecco Bagnaia's praises, but now he's gone down. Unfortunately, the Ducati rider has crashed out of probably a season best position. Zarco has been doing pretty well as well in the top 10. Oh, Rossi! Rossi's down as well! Valentino Rossi's crashed out. Again, that's massive for the fight for 3rd in the championship. So it's absolutely unbelievable scenes here at the Malaysian Grand Prix. So many of the top flight riders struggling or crashing in this one, but we're all over the back of Dovizioso now. I think I'm going to be able to make the move up the inside through this turn. We're being pinched towards the apex. He's going to have to leave us a bit of space. There we go. We've got the move done now on the power. No, actually, Dovizioso's still there. He's not giving it up yet. Obviously, that Ducati power. I got on the power a little bit earlier than him, perhaps, but the Ducati power is enough. We should be able to get around the outside into this last corner. Yes, we have. So we're up into the lead of the race, although I've gone in very wide. Oh, Dovi's up the inside. I had to sort of sit up a little bit to not hit him, but we've got the cutback. There we go then, up into the lead of the race. The bike is pulling over to the right-hand side now, and I actually did forget for a bit that I had damage there, so that's probably why I ran wide in the last corner. I braked at the normal point. And again, I've gone in wide here. The bike is pulling over to the left into right-hand corner, and we've had contact with Dovi. I've turned it on completely there. This race has gone from bad to worse for myself there. And I've kind of been forced out of the way by his bike, so oh dear. We've had contact with Andrea Dovizioso, and that was my fault really, because I was cutting back to the racing line. I waited up a little bit. I wasn't going to wait up for him to respawn entirely, but Dovizioso, I think he might be actually out of the race there, because this is dropped behind Valentino Rossi. But now this has completely changed the face of the race. I can't stop this bike at all, because it's got no wings on either side. It feels absolutely horrendous. It didn't feel great to begin with. So I'm going to have to just try and refocus. Joan Mir is up next, then it's Quartararo, then it's the two Hondas. Can we do anything to try and win this race? I don't think we can now. Oh, Mir's down! Mir has had a high, so again out of that corner. Another victim out of that right-hander. And this time it's Joan Mir, so we're now up to 4th position. The podium spot's just ahead of us. I'm going to have to try and put my head down and try and bridge this gap, but the bike is just not slowing down. It's weird because it's wing damage, but it's acting as if it's almost like engine braking damage, because the bike isn't engine braking very well. Fastest lap of the race to myself on that lap, only 1.3 seconds behind, but trust me, I would be catching them a lot more if I actually had all my wings, but it seems like they might start to battle now that I've closed up on them, so hopefully that should be able to allow us to bridge that last little bit of the gap. Right, so we are right on the back of Fabio Quartararo now. We've gained a lot on this lap because we were 1.3 behind, and I'm all over the back of him now. I am really starting to adapt to riding this bike, but we have got to watch out for the fuel because we've got, well, just over 2 laps to go, and we've got just over 2 laps of fuel left, so I'm going to save a little bit of fuel. We haven't been running Power Mode 0 at this point. up until this point, which usually I have to. So the bike actually is being quite economical this circuit, but either way, I'm just going to save that last little bit. But Pol Espargaro still leads then ahead of Marc Marquez, then it's Fabio Quartararo, then myself. So that is the leading group, although Pol might get away a little bit because it looks like he's pulling away from Marc. But hopefully if I can do this last corner to perfection, we should be able to pass Fabio coming out of here. Yeah, we should be able to. We've got the drive in the section of Fabio Quartararo, then this is going to be the fastest lap of the race. Yes, it is, 59.4. We're so far off the pace of what we were doing in qualifying because of this damage. But here we go, up the inside of Fabio. I've had to brake a lot earlier than I would normally for this corner just to get it stopped. Fabio's now wide because of that. He's had to sort of lift up, leaving the space. So we're now up into the podium positions once again, up into third place. We have still got a shot at this victory, but if you look at the timing screens when we go over the line, I'm pretty sure Rabat and Lecoyne are in the top 10. So this is an absolutely unbelievable race. So Marquez is up next. I'm just having to brake so much earlier than I would normally through all these corners. On the first couple of laps I was really struggling with it, but ever since that I have kind of got back up to speed again. Well, up to the AI speed anyway at least. So the wrong gear through this section, a little bit like on the first lap. We are running out of time because we are on the penultimate lap, of course. So we need to try and pass Marc now, and then we're going to have to try and pass Pol on the final lap, I think. I don't think there's really going to be enough overtaking opportunities unless there is a high side out of here for one of the leaders, which definitely could happen because we've seen so many crashes through that section in both the Moto3 and MotoGP race. It's down towards the hairpin. We are closing up on Marc. I had to look up the inside. He's left the room a little bit. We might be able to get this one here. Got to lift off because otherwise it just wasn't going to be enough. But we might have the inside to his right hand if I can have it. There we go. We're on the inside of Marc. Marc's had to leave us some space, but he's hung it around the outside. I'm on the power. Marc has got it though, and I think that might be our shot at the win over because Pol is too far in front. We're closing right to the back of Marc now. We're going to try and stick it up the inside to the penultimate turn. We're not going to be able to do that one, unfortunately. So we've only managed to pass one of them on this lap. So yeah, this has not quite gone how I expected it, but I've got a bit more fuel left than I actually need on the final lap, so we might be able to burn a little bit of power mode too to make this. This has been a much more tense race than I thought. We're going to go for the dive bomb on the inside to the last corner on Marc Marquez. He's to leave the space, but he's gone super wide anyway. Same with Pol Espargaro. So we've now passed Marc Marquez up into second position. Pol Espargaro, the race leader, is the only person in front of us now. So up to second position, 4 tenths behind Pol as we start this final lap. He's got a little bit defensive down towards the first corner, so almost like he did in Austria in real life. Not really sure why he's done that. But yes, Rabat, Lecoyne and Martin are all in the top 10 because of the amount of crashes that have kicked off in this race. But there's been at least 6 crashes. But here we go then. We're looking for a move on Pol Espargaro, trying to go around the outside, but we haven't managed to do it there. So Pol still has the lead for now. We've got half a second back to Marc Marquez, so we've left Marc behind a little bit. Me and Pol have got a bit better pace than the rest of that group. We're looking at the inside into turn 4. Can we pull it off on the power? Bit of a wheelie. We're all over the back of Pol Espargaro, but it's just so difficult to find a way through because the AI do take pretty optimal lines at this circuit. I will give them that in some places. This section in particular, if you sort of hold it in the middle, it is quite hard to actually pull off an overtake. We've got a lap of fuel left. I am keeping my eye on it. Don't want to run out of room, but he's got defensive. We go around the outside. We swoop around the outside through turn 7, and that should be it. We've taken the lead of the race. Pol once again losing a race because of going defensive, although he could still dive bomb us back or we could run wide or something, so I'm not saying it's all over yet. We could still make a mistake as well, of course, any other kind of mistake I mean, because of course this bike is not, you know, it's not got all the bits on it. It's supposed to have all the wings, so it could behave really weirdly. Unfortunately, the other two Suzuki's not quite faring as well as me in this race, battling over 16th and 17th. Of course, both having crashes that I think were self-inflicted because, of course, Rins ran into the back of Quartararo and Mir had a high side right in front of us. So, unfortunately for Suzuki, it's not been a great race because, of course, I was really sloppy in this one. But I think we've got enough of an advantage over Pol Espargaro as we go down towards the final corner to call this one a victory. And I think that really was just because of the decisive dive bomb down into this corner on the inside of Marc Marquez, although we've gone a little bit wide in. Will that allow Pol on the inside? No, it's not. So as we come out the final turn then, we're going to win the Malaysian Grand Prix despite all the adversity and having no wings for the majority of the race. I think that was the best race of the season. Oh, it's an absolutely mad race. Absolutely mad. So we win the race. So the Pol Espargaro, Marc Marquez, Fabio Quartararo, Maverick Vinales, Morbidelli ends up in 6th, Alex Marquez 7th, Tito Rabat from 21st on the grid. It showed him before the race. Obviously the game knew he was going to do well. Up to 8th place there, 9th for Iker Lecoyne, 10th for Martin, Petrucci in 11th, 12th for Binder, 13th for Rossi, so after his crash, a pretty good recovery for Valentino, 14th for Oliveira, Nakagami ends up with 15th, so unfortunately neither of the Aprilias in the points, even with this chaotic race. Rins then in 16th, Mir 17th, 18th for Aleix, 19th for Cal, and those were the last finishers. 4 riders retiring, all on Ducatis. I'm not sure when Zarco crashed, to be honest with you. I don't know when he retired. And there was a crash at the first corner though, wasn't there? Jorge Martin. Actually, Jorge Martin crashed at the first corner, didn't he? And he's got 10th place. That's absolutely unbelievable. So riders that have crashed at the start of the race have then managed to get their way through because of the carnage that's ensued afterwards. So, not sure who he actually collected in the first corner crash with him. Perhaps it was one of the Aprilias, might be why they were so far off the pace. But wow, what a hectic race. So many crashes. We're going to have a look at some of them. And this has predictably absolutely shaken up the Riders' Championship. So Marc Marquez and myself, of course, were already secure. But Fabio Quartararo now moves back ahead of Jack Miller into 3rd place in the championship after obviously Miller retiring from the race after his crash. Viñales only a few points further back. So that fight for 3rd place is still well and truly on between the 3 Yamahas and Jack Miller. Pol Espargaro now moves up to 7th place. It jumps ahead of Dovizioso and Rins. Mir stays put in 10th. Is there any moves further down the table? Yeah, Petrucci and Lecuona both move up a few positions ahead of Zarco. Rabat moves up 1 as well ahead of Nakagami. So Aleix Espargaro is the only rider not to score points, although I think that was already the case judging by the points tally of some of the riders. Like Rabat, he was like 8th place. Well, you don't get 20 points for 8th, so he must have already had some points. So unfortunately for the Aprilias, even with a chaotic race like this, they weren't able to capitalise. In the Teams Championship then, I think it's safe to say that it's pretty much over. It pretty much is over because Repsol Honda, they were going to wrap it up regardless really of what happened because they were so close to. Monster Energy Yamaha got 4th and 5th, didn't they? So they've got a really good points haul ahead of Ducati, and that's it pretty much. Unless there's another crazy race in Valencia, which there could be because last season Valencia was pretty mad. It's kind of settled that championship right there then, so I think this is sort of your final standings if you look at that. I can't really see much changing, to be honest. And in the Constructors' Championship, yeah, that looks like that is all done. I think it is still to play for between Yamaha and Ducati, but not particularly. There's not a massive amount in it. Obviously, there's 22 points between them, so Ducati have to win the race. Yamaha have to score basically nothing. So I think the championships are well and truly wrapped up now. So let's go and have a look at some of the crashes in that race because wow, there were quite a few. So this is on board with Jorge Martin. Down towards the first corner, you can see Zarco had a little bit of contact with Alex Marquez, and unfortunately Martin just got a bit squeezed and down he went, and he took out Cal Crutchlow with him. So if we slow that one down and have another look at it. So then you see he's on the outside of Alex Marquez. He gets a bit... Well, he can't really turn in anymore because Alex Marquez is there, and Crutchlow kind of turns in towards him, and unfortunately Crutchlow kind of just tags him a bit there, and down they go. So... yeah, that is why the Aprilias couldn't score any points, because Crutchlow has been the stronger of the two, I think, this season, and if he hadn't have crashed there, he potentially would have got some points. Look on board with Cal Crutchlow, yeah, there he goes, he just turns in, just clips Jorge Martin. Unfortunately, that's him down. So again, if we slow it down, you can see towards the first corner, Crutchlow's on the turn in, just clips Jorge Martin, and down they both go. Just quite an unfortunate crash for those two there. Next one to look at is, of course, Alex Rins. So you can see there's me. I'm on the inside. Rins, sits up to avoid me, and it wasn't the crash with Quartararo. He got clipped then again by Viñales. That's what happened to Alex Rins, unfortunately. He rejoins the circuit behind the Aprilia and the Ducati, and not a good line either, so we've lost quite a bit of time to them. If we slow it down, you can see I'm on the inside there, so Rins has no choice really. He's getting squeezed between myself and Quartararo, to be fair to Rins, so he didn't particularly do anything wrong. He couldn't really have backed out of that. I wouldn't have been able to do that, I don't think, any better. But unfortunately, in avoiding... well, he did clip Quartararo a little bit, but in avoiding a crash, he then just goes onto Viñales' path, and that's him down. I'm not sure how Viñales has got away with not crashing there, because Viñales had a way more lean angle than Alex Rins did, and somehow he stayed on and Rins hadn't. So then this is on board with Jack Miller. I think he's going to have a crash similar to Albert Arenas, and he just ran out of room and went onto the grass. It was completely his own mistake. It wasn't like a glitchy AI spot or anything. He just ran wide, and that was him out of the race then, because his bike toppled over so many times. Slowing it down, you can see he's trying to get the run on Jean Mir because he knows he needs to get a good result here against Rossi and Quartararo Viñales, and he just runs out of road onto the curb, and it just spits him off. Wow, that was a bit of a rookie mistake there for Jack Miller. So next up to go down was Valentino Rossi. So here we are on board with the Doctor. He's trying to go around the outside of Alex Marquez, and he just, again, like Miller, ran onto the grass. That is a really rookie mistake for Valentino, although he did something similar last year in Jerez, if you remember that, back to that with the Red Bull KTM Tech 3 career mode, the first season of this. He ran onto the grass and caused a horrendous accident, but you can see he was going for an outside move on Alex. Alex starts to move over to the right hand side of the track, which he has every right to do so, and Rossi, in response to that, runs all the way off the curb instead of... He probably could have been okay on that curb, because that curb is really flat. You can actually brake on that curb. On the outside, it's not too bad, and he probably could have then started turning in for the corner, but unfortunately, Valentino just ran himself out of road. Naturally, we missed Pecco Bagnaia, and we're going to see Johan Zarco as well in a second. So coming through here, gets onto the curb. As they come back on the circuit, they gas it with like a lot of change on the rear tyre, a lot of changing forces there. So you can see through this corner here, it seems to be like all Ducatis that were doing this here. And he just slides out onto the curb, and that's it. You're kind of lost already at this point now. You need to let off the throttle and sit up a bit. But as you come back on the circuit, the suspension sort of compresses at the same time as they're on the throttle, and that just causes a high side, unfortunately, because the rear is fully loaded. They try and load it even more with a bit more power, and, well, there you go. Zarco behind is going to do the exact same thing. We're not going to slow that one down because it's the same crash, but... yeah, so a bit of a Ducati problem it seemed there. So I didn't know when Zarco had actually retired, but that would be why, because it was telling us that Bagnaia had crashed at that point. And here we go then, this is on board with Dovizioso. This was really what sealed the fate of the race. I got in a little bit too hot, well, massively too hot into this corner. I'm trying to cut back, and then Dovi's just there, and I couldn't avoid him. I'm not sure what Dovi was doing so wide in the corner anyway, because he braked very, very early, but he seems to have run a little bit too wide through the second half of the corner. He's been there unexpectedly for me. And we've collided there. I've completely mounted him, really, there. Like, mounted his bike. And how I haven't gone down is unbelievable. But I feel sorry for Dovi. I think I might impose a penalty for the next race on myself, starting from the back of the grid. Especially since Valencia is usually a pretty good circuit for me anyway, compared to the AI on this game. So next up to crash was Joan Mir. He did the same thing as Bagnaia and Zarco, just wide on that curb. And then completely loads the rear as you come back on the circuit. Gets on the power and loads it even more. And that is it, the rear loses grip and off you go. But I think that's enough of looking at crashes for now. I think there might have been a couple more, but there were so many there just to look at. That will have really padded out the video runtime quite a bit there. I don't want to make the video too long. So we'll head into the career hub now, and we'll end off the episode there. So then, despite the scrappy race, we actually did pretty well because we got pole and the race win, and that's all the game actually looks at. So we gained 19,700 total reputation, obviously 13,200 from the race and 6,500 from qualifying. And on the credits front, another healthy weekend there, 112,506, with 80,000 coming from the Moto3 race and 31,000 from my own. And actually, a really good weekend for the Moto3 riders. Of course, they had an amazing race, 5th and 6th position, so 175 and 165 prestige, along with the 39 from Daisy Jackson getting the qualifying, gives us 379 team prestige and 350 research data as well. She actually did 2 R&D programs there. So if we have a look at the junior team front here, then there's nothing we can actually do at the minute because there's 9 weeks on the frame, 8 weeks on the finances, but only 1 more week on the rider upgrade, so hopefully in the next episode we should be able to put on a new one, but it will be the final round of the season. So what I'm going to do is we are going to do the final round in the next episode, Valencia, and then we will have an episode after that sorting everything out for the next season, the pre-season episode, and we'll probably do the pre-season testing in that one as well. But I've got really nothing else to add. I've been rambling on for long enough already, so I hope you guys did enjoy this one. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.